What's up, everybody? Welcome to the PixelPlay Podcast. My name is Adam, aka CS Radical, joined as always my co-hosts Jen and Chris, and nobody else. There's never been anyone else on the show. Don't mind the picture up there if you're watching on video. Don't mind it. That's not there. It's a figment of your imagination. It's just a two-man show. It's always been this way. It's not like a coin flip every time whether or not Kaylan and his fatherly duties get in the way of things. But yeah, Kaylan not here, so just the two of us. We're going to be talking video games. I know, shocking. We never talk about video games on the show, do we, Chris?
What? Never. Why would you even imply that? I'm hurt.
It's just offensive. I could have sworn that this was the golf podcast.
Yeah. Hot Shots Golf. Bringing it back.
Yeah, I was going to say golf with friends, or golf with your friends.
So many golf games. Wow.
Honestly, not a false statement.
Not a false statement at all. The amount
There's
of
a lot
golf
of golf games.
that
Now,
I've
to
played.
be fair, It's almost like fun multiplayer games are a fun thing.
Mm-hmm.
I wish other sports would do that. I mean, Sifu's going to be the Sifu devs are doing that with soccer, but Lord knows like nobody else can be bothered to do it. No one at any point has gone, you know what we should do? Bring NBA Jam back. No one's ever thought about that, especially with 4-player multiplayer games being normal. Like that's a perfect 4-player game.
Yeah. I don't know.
But no,
what the hell.
Technology is too difficult for that. And the market totally doesn't want that. You're right. You're right, CEOs. All we want are just realistic, over-the-top, copy and pasted sports games that are just microtransactions only. That's what we actually want. You're right. You're right. We don't want anything that's actually like fun to play. We don't want, the old NHL Hits games or NFL Blitz or NBA Jams or, like Burnout if we want to go to the racing game sphere. Like, we don't want any of those. We just want realism. Now, to all those who say, well, I want real. Shut up. No one's talking to you.
We are coming out swinging to start this podcast off.
Well, look, Kaylan's not here to keep me at bay, so I can do whatever I want now.
It's like, welcome to PixelPlay Podcast. Gaming CEOs, microtransactions, just like right out.
It's like golf, gaming, CEOs suck, and you, the fans, shut up. Like that's been the first 2 minutes. Perfect start to the show. Seal of approval. Let's fucking go. But anyways, speaking of seal of approvals, we obviously here on the show play video games once in a while. I don't know. I guess sometimes we do that. But Chris, have you been doing anything as of recent? Because I got a lot to talk about, so I figure if I'm going to be wasting a lot of time, I should at least let you have, a moment to say something before I take over the next 45 minutes.
I've done a few things. So the first thing that I did, which my nephew was making me promise, I mentioned on the podcast, and it is still gaming related, but I took him to see the Minecraft movie. So I have officially seen the wild ride that is the Minecraft movie, and it really is. I'll talk a little bit about that. I also watched another gaming thing on the exact same day, but a lot more adult, which was the season 2 premiere of The Last of Us. So I went from children in Minecraft, Last of Us, dark, same day. And then the last thing I also did in that last week, since our last recording, was I beat Avowed. I actually got to that point where I had to keep playing it. I stayed up last night, which was a Monday night, until 2-something in the morning, and I did not have today off from work, and I was tired, but I needed to finish it because it was just at that point where the story's finally kind of all connecting and your decisions and choices are all kind of coming together and stuff, and it was one of those I can't put this game down kind of moments, and I love when games hit me like that, when I just can't wait to go sit down and keep playing it, because sometimes as an adult, I find that I'll go down to play a game and I don't know what I want to play, and then I'll start to play something, and after an hour I'll be like, oh yeah, it was fun, I'll stop now. You don't get that crazy, gaming hype towards a game like pretty much every game in my 20s did, early 20s or something, right? So yeah, I did all of those things. So I'll just touch on each of them very briefly. Avowed, which is up on the screen, fantastic game. I think this is going to be I don't know if it's a hot take or not. I think I may have actually liked this a lot more than Skyrim. And don't get me wrong, I love Skyrim. I've got 120 hours in it. I got every achievement. I went all in on that. And this one, I don't have that. I think I have something closer to probably like 30 hours with the game. But when I say I liked it more, I think I enjoyed the feeling of when I was done it more than when I finished Skyrim. Skyrim became just like I want to max everything out. I want the character with like billion thievery, all that kind of stuff. This one, I actually just enjoyed the game for what it was. I didn't go out of my way to get achievements. Besides, at the very end, there was one for fully upgrading a weapon and fully upgrading armor. I took the like 5 minutes to quickly do that because I was like, I'm also going into the end of the game. I might as well also do that. It would also help me. But I didn't do all the side quests. I didn't do anything except what I wanted to genuinely do in the moment. And the thing I noticed was I did a lot of side stuff in this game because I actually wanted to. Like, I would find a random cave. Sometimes you go into that random cave and you find something small. It's not huge. It's just like, here's a treasure chest with some really good equipment in there or crafting materials. And then sometimes you go in there and it's a whole side quest that actually gives you a decision that impacts the end of the game. Which to me is just amazing. And I'll do other side quests. They would tie into one of the 4 companion characters. I actually loved all 4 of the companion characters. I thought their stories were great. They were well written. They were voice acted well. I genuinely cared about their backstories and then for the missions that like connected with them. The whole game just, I felt happy playing it the entire time. I never had that open world RPG burnout. I don't think I ever had it once. And then when I got to the end of the game, like I said, it got to the point where I couldn't put the game down because I was like, I need to see this through. I need to see how this ends. I'm finally seeing everything from the initial, mysteries of the game to now all the answers. And I need to know. So the game is fantastic. And one last thing I'll say about the endings, which is really cool, not to give any of them away, but it was a game where decisions actually mattered. The way they do the endings, it's one of those things where they probably have like 50, 60 different types of endings, and you just get like the 10 to 15 laid out one after the other that you ended up getting because of the decisions you made and the things you did.
So it's kind of like pieces of that ending then that kind of come together based on what you did in the entire game.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was just this voiceover with this imagery, and it was like, this person is now here, and this is what ended up happening to them. And then it would like cut to the next person. It's like, but this person, this is what happened to them. And then this
so
town.
Realistically, they're gonna be like, this person dead, this person dead, this person dead.
No, mine was it was good.
No, I'm not saying yours. I'm just saying the possibilities open. They could be like, and this person died, and this one died a horrible death, and you left this person to die. Like, it's just a constant thing of like, you.
Yes, you. The thing is you're not wrong at all, because the amount of, if you want to go bad for the sake of it, just for the memes or for it to be funny, you can. It even gives you options right at the end of the game. I was good the whole time. It gave me one final chance, like, do you want to just say fuck it all and actually just like go with the person that you've been fighting this whole time and be like, you know what? Nah, I'm going to switch sides. Like, you can just do that right even at the end. Like, they just have choice the entire game and you are never stuck, which is so awesome.
I feel like when games do that, though, it's more of like hey, have you finished this game already and want to see one of the other endings?
Oh, 100%. That last one, yes. Everything else, I will say, again, I won't give any spoilers away, but when they give you decisions, I had one I loved in the third area. And the reason I loved it is because both decisions were bad. They made sense why they were the only 2 decisions, but both of them were bad. One was like, you're going to end up having to kill some people kind of bad. So it's like, you're not siding with a bad person or anything, but you'll have to do something bad. And then the other option was less bad, but then you have to side with somebody who's bad. And it's kind of like neither are good, but it's like, do you care more about who you side with and all this other stuff, or do you care about the consequences of your actions? And like, you have to pick one. You can't get around it. There's no like, oh, it's okay, I can have the good option. And the game isn't always like that. Like, that would piss me off if the entire game was like that. it always did, or it didn't always, but a lot of the time it did have the do the right thing, or at least do what you think is the right thing in the moment. But there was the odd time where it's like you're at war and you've got two decisions and both suck, but we got to pick one. We got to solve this, and there's only two ways to do it, kind of thing. And I love that because then you get to the ending, and again, every decision. There was a side quest I did in the beginning of the game, like in the first half an hour, and that came up in my ending. And it was almost like not just you're seeing your ending, you're also just seeing a reel of your decisions and how you like either messed up or did good in the Living Lands or whatever the island is where this takes place. I thought I did good, and then for a couple people, I was like, "Ah, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Oh no, sorry. Have fun." Like it was really cool. I loved that it was a happy looking game. It wasn't like the dreary like like oh it's just vampires and skeletons. No, even the
It didn't suck
skeletons
like
had
Dragon
this
Age: The
pretty
Veilguard.
it didn't suck at all like that. Not even at all. But yeah, great voice acting. The music was nice. The scenery was nice. Even when you're fighting spiders, they tried to pretty them up just a little bit. So they're like more fairy tale like than just like, oh God, that's a terrifying looking spider. The choices mattered. You actually care about your companions. And the ending, like, it actually pays off. Like with your decisions, you get to see it all play out in like this 20-minute long, just like, here's what you did. Here's everything now. This is like your impact on everything. And I love that. I absolutely loved it. Last of Us show, I'm not going to talk about much. I'm only going to say one point. It's because Kaylan's not here, and I feel like me and him will talk about it more once he's back on. The first season, the only issue I had was that it was too much the game scene for scene. It was just cutscenes. They clearly took that that feedback and completely fixed it. The game, I'm playing The Last of Us Part 2, so it's super fresh and it is all over the place. Like, it is not the same order. There are characters that didn't exist before in the games. You don't know exactly if everything's going to play out the same with certain things. And I'm not even talking big stuff. I'm talking just small stuff, like stuff that happened like 5 hours into the game is happening in the beginning, and stuff that happened in the beginning hasn't even happened yet. Like, it's very interesting with stuff they're doing, as well as some of the changes they've even made to the story. The core is still the same. They haven't decided to go their own way and make a whole new story. They're just now presenting it in a different way and making some changes. It really does make it fresh, compared to, say, the first season, where it had like one very different episode, but the rest of the season was shot scene for scene just to match the cutscenes from the game. So big improvement, I would say, with that. Minecraft movie. I mean, the movie itself is fine. My nephew and I both enjoyed it. He loved it. He's a big Minecraft kid. He's 9. But the thing that was wild to me was the audience. I don't know if anybody's heard of like the fact that there are police at movie theaters for the Minecraft movie to make sure order is kept and everything.
Because there's been a lot of food fights I've seen videos of.
There's been a lot, and I didn't believe it. And there was no fights or anything at the showing for mine. But holy hell. So the girl who worked there, literally a girl who worked there, came out and was like, "Hey everyone, I know you're all excited to see Minecraft. I hope you have an amazing time. If anybody throws anything or causes too much of a ruckus, you and your entire group gets thrown out." One kid literally raised their hand and said, "What if only one person in the group does it? Does the whole group get kicked out?" And she's like, "Yes, the entire group gets kicked out." I saw that kid put something down. Like, he clearly had something that he was going to throw to get it and get himself kicked out, but no, like, hoping he won't now do it because the rest of his group will probably murder him for paying for Minecraft, but then getting kicked out. As the movie went on, I swear it was like everybody was watching a TikTok video where they've already seen it, they already know the lines, and they're screaming it as it's happening. And I don't know if that the writers did this on purpose. Maybe it was like advertising on TikTok. Maybe it's just baby's first meme, and all these 9, 6, and 12-year-olds have finally discovered, like, it's funny to talk about stuff and go and do this stuff because everyone else is doing it, and it's kind of like a meme. Yeah, like Jack Black has a bunch of songs in it that are like 30 seconds. So a lot more TikTok like than actual real full-length songs. and he sang one called Steve's Lava Chicken because it's literally a piece of chicken cooked in lava because it's Minecraft. And he sings this little snippet. As soon as he went to sing, in unison, the entire audience sang at the top of their lungs, except me and my nephew. And I felt really left out. I did not know what was happening. Then there's a part where Jack Black, or Steve, says chicken jockey because there's this little zombie riding a chicken. And as soon as he said chicken jockey, the whole audience yelled chicken jockey at the exact same time. And it was like everybody was in, either they all saw this movie and decided like, hey, let's go for a sing along and read along of this movie and yell out the lyrics and the script. I have no idea. But
I really hope
wild.
I really hope that's the case, because that would be, I honestly would not like the idea of people knowing a bunch of stuff in the movie before watching the movie.
Yeah. Well, the thing is I already knew about the chicken jockey because of our gaming news. Like, I check gaming news every day, and it was talking about like theaters and how it was with chicken jockey. So I knew from like a news perspective, but I swear that all these kids, other best case scenario is, some kids saw it and then told all the other kids at school. But there's no, like, this is a national thing that's happening, at least in North America, like all over.
Yeah, some of the videos I've seen, I went, my God, like, I don't care that, people say, well, kids will be kids. I'm like, no. Because a lot of the videos that I'm seeing, it's not kids either, which is the other part that pisses me off. It's like teens and college kids, where it's like, come on, guys.
Yeah,
you
the
probably
kids that
work. A lot of these kids that are doing that probably work a job where they got to deal with bullshit like that, and they still did it.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Like, it was the theater, like the group I was with, not that I was with, but the people I was watching with, it was just the yelling of the lines, like excited yelling and singing along.
Yeah,
and all
kind of
that
similar
stuff.
to like how we got really loud during, like, say, Avengers Endgame and shit.
Imagine, okay, that's actually the perfect way to describe this. Imagine Endgame, where there's like a couple minutes where the audience cheers. Imagine that, but instead of cheering, you're actually yelling out the lines of the movie, and it happens once every 15 minutes for the entire 2 hours of the movie.
So it's called going to watch Rocky Horror on Halloween night. Got it.
That. But everybody's 6 to 12. Like, it was wild. There was a little girl sitting next to me.
It's just weird that that's like a movie that's just come out. That tells me like what TikTok really is doing to the culture waves. Because like I've gone to see Rocky Horror twice with friends on Halloween, and it's like it's a big thing in because we go to a theater out in Dundas that does it, and it's like you can tell it's like the trendy people that come out here. It's like a cult classic, so people are all dressed up. There's all these little like lines like outside of the movie that people will yell at the screen as like commentary, like almost like riffing on it, but everybody knows what the riffs are. So like there's that, but that's a movie that's multiple decades old. We're talking about a movie that I don't even know how long the Minecraft movie's been out for. We're talking like, what, a week or two?
10 days.
Yeah.
It's been out 10 days.
So like,
and it's
that tells me
TikTok,
the reach of what
YouTube.
social media is, which is equal parts really cool, but also equal parts terrifying.
Terrifying. It's like every single person there had seen the movie in its entirety. And I know for a fact, the little girl sitting next to me who was 6, her dad on the other side of her was like, are you excited to see the Minecraft movie? And she's like, yeah. So it was her first time, and she yelled along with everybody else. She knew the songs to Jack Black. She the lyrics. She knew the chicken jockey. She knew all the shit that she was yelling at the TV. The only person who didn't know was my nephew, but he doesn't go on social media anywhere near as much as anybody else.
So he's the one good kid. Yeah, but that's a conversation for another day.
That's another conversation for another day, for sure. But yeah, it was wild. As an adult sitting there in that, I was like, I'm in another universe right now. This is insane. I'm not gonna lie.
This when I would have been uncomfortable if it was me and Lisa watching that. Lisa would have been like stoked. She would have been like, "That's so cool." I would have been like, "This is fucking weird." Yeah. Like just from you describing it, and like also the videos that I've seen too of like the extreme things that have happened for it. I'm like, this is fucking weird. I cannot get behind this.
Yeah.
But that's also just me with me being the kind of introvert that I can be. It's a little much for me.
Oh yeah, if you're an introvert, do not see the Minecraft movie. It's actually a good movie though. Speaking of the movie, just because I didn't actually
I was gonna ask too. Like, I know a lot of people have made fun of it because like the director even outright said he didn't look into anything about the material. So like,
it actually was decent. Is it a great movie? No, absolutely not. Do I still think like the Sonic and Mario movies are better? Yes. But would I say this was a good video game adaptation of a movie that is predominantly aimed at children? Like, not as much
Yeah,
adult
I think
humor.
out of any, like, we talked about how, like, the Super Mario movie was definitely geared to kids. I would say from watching the Minecraft trailers, this is 100% for kids. I wouldn't even say this is for adults.
It is, but there is still, I wouldn't call them adult
Well,
moments.
but is it for adults in the way that there's a couple of jokes here and there that no kid would figure out, but we would?
No, they were still good for kids in a humor sense. Although for adults, it was like, I think that means something else, but it is still funny to the kids.
So like it's definitely like what Disney movies are, where it's like, okay, this is 100% for kids, but like adults can pull stuff from it. Whereas like I think the Sonic movies, at least like the first couple ones, I just watched the third one actually the other day. So like, but I feel like the third one isn't nearly as much for everyone. I think the third one is much more of a kids movie than the other two were. So like, I would say that, you know, there is a difference between some of these. Like obviously Mortal Kombat's a different thing unto itself, but like even the first Sonic, when I watched that, I'm like, no, this is literally like built for everybody. I looked at the Minecraft trailer, it took 2 seconds to go, this is not even for me as a Minecraft fan. This is a kid's movie.
Yeah,
it
was.
This is a Disney movie that is disguised as a video game adaptation.
No, so that's the only thing I would say.
Not in the sense of like the song and dance princess stuff. I just mean in the sense of like this is geared for a much younger crowd.
I wouldn't gear this as like a Disney movie for kids, though I would maybe say it's on the same level, not emotionally, but the same level
like Pixar
of
movie
things.
for like a Pixar kids movie. So when I was saying Disney, I was more or less just meaning the audience it's directed for.
Yeah. If you've seen a DreamWorks kids movie like How to Train Your Dragon or anything like that, I would say it was very similar in feel to like a DreamWorks picture. Where
so that would tell me automatically that there's no reason for me to go see it. At least not in the theater.
No, I wouldn't. It does have
I mean, I'm
good
sure
moments.
I might look at it at some point just because me and Lisa need to just gorge over Jack Black singing at any point because we're big Tenacious D guys, but
Oh yeah, and he sings a lot, of course. He's got a few different things in there. Jason Momoa sings, and like he's on a track, which is interesting. And also his character, I definitely thought I connected with because he's like a guy from the '80s who used to be like a world champion for arcade. He's like one of those people who had like the high score in Donkey Kong, kind of, and now he's trying to run a used video game store.
Because that's how they're physically built. All of those guys, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like and Jason Momoa.
Yeah, and he's kind of like Macho Man Randy Savage with the way he dresses and acts and all his clothing and everything. Because people are like, why is he wearing that pink jacket? As soon as you see him, you're like, all of the trailer that I didn't understand, now it makes sense. He's a guy stuck in the 80s. He's like, he thinks he's he's Macho Man Randy Savage, like all of this stuff. And it's like, oh, he's a big loser now because he was a big deal in the 80s and he's stuck living that running a failing used video game store. Yeah, no, okay, I can relate to this guy on way too many levels right now.
Oh, yeah, gotta get me some diamonds, yeah.
Yeah, I swear he even applied that a little bit to his voice for a bit in the beginning. I swear. Like, I think that it was his inspiration, and I want to find interviews where they ask him because I gotta find it. Because it was way too close. He had like the same sunglasses, everything. Like, oh yeah. Anyways, that's all the things I've been doing. What have you been doing? I'm ready for your 45 minutes talk.
All right. So, well, like I said, I did watch Sonic 3. I'm going to ask you one question, Chris. Or I'm going to say one thing, Chris. I'm going to be as less spoilery as possible. Chris, what the fuck? Are they actually going to do something about the moon or not? And he knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
At the end of the movie, Lisa and I were sitting down watching it. And I'm like, they're going to address the moon, right?
It's for another movie, okay? It doesn't matter.
Is it though? Is the Earth going to be around?
No, they'll fix it. They'll put a Band-Aid or I don't know. I don't know.
I will say, apart from Keanu Reeves, I don't think I cared for this movie all that much.
Oh, you didn't like it as much? I didn't like it as much as the first two, for sure.
Like, I'm willing to say at this point, the story, there was, like, no interest in the story. Outside of the first minute of it, Jim Carrey playing himself twice, or Jim Carrey playing Robotnik twice, got old really, really fast. I don't feel like we're already forgetting the two human guys that take care of Sonic. I'm forgetting their names right now. I don't feel like they added anything. They're just there. And then Idris Elba does his job phenomenally well. He does everything correctly. Sonic and Tails, honestly, I don't feel really played that interesting of a role. Like they weren't that funny. I didn't find the jokes really all that good in this one either. It was really just a two-man show of Idris Elba and Keanu Reeves playing characters that you would not expect Idris Elba and Keanu Reeves to play in these movies.
Yeah, it's actually just the new DLC for Cyberpunk, where they're both reprising their roles, but as animals.
I mean, if that's what it is, then it's not the worst thing in the world. But yeah, I will say, between the first two Sonic movies, I don't even know, they're obviously gating for a fourth. I'm not interested at all anymore because now we're past the characters that I give a shit about. So I don't know what you do to make this more interesting. This is the point where I'm going, this might be, all right, kids, have fun with that. I'm going to walk away now. I've gotten what I need out of this. Because I don't even know, for the roles that they're bringing in now for the next movie, I don't even know, what person they could bring in to make me go, okay, I want to at least hear that.
Did you see the after credit scene?
Yes. So without spoiling it, the characters that they are going to bring in for the next movie, I don't know who does voices for them.
Oh, the voices. Oh.
So I don't know what name a Keanu Reeves would make me go, okay, I didn't really care about this character that much, but now I want to see. With what they're bringing in, I'm I don't know who they could even bring in that makes me go, ooh.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about who would be a good voice actor.
But yeah, we won't say who because obviously the movie's still fresh enough that if those want to see it, they can still see the post credits afterwards. But yeah, strictly speaking, I just didn't think it was that interesting. It was fine. I'm not offended by it, but I'm just more it is a movie. Nothing special.
Yeah, I think its issue is Sonic Adventure.
Apart from Live and Learn getting a remix, that was cool.
That was my favorite part. And I was explaining to my nephew after, I'm when that happened, that's the song that plays, and he's looking at me like I'm an ancient old man. I was dude, that's not even the old Sonic. That's not even the old Sonic, man. That's 2000 Sonic. Okay? Really early 2000s.
In terms of lyrics, that is the old song.
That is.
They were going to pull out Sonic R. Can you feel the sun? They weren't doing that.
Okay, but they should. Okay? And that should happen in the next movie. Well, anyways, I still have...
They could.
I have a little bit of hope still for the fourth one being better than this third one, just because of the game it's going to be kind of based on. Mm-hmm. Again, because the Sonic Adventure to me, I never really was a huge fan of Sonic Adventure 2. I liked Shadow, but the story and where it went, I was wow, this is getting way wild compared to just what the original Sonic games kind of were. So I'm hoping with the fourth one, it's kind of back to basics.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I'm also at the point too that I'm okay, I didn't think this would get to this many movies now. I don't need to care that much about Sonic 6. I don't really need Sega can keep killing its properties however they want. Just give me something else interesting too. But yeah, that's all I'll really say on the movie. It was fine, but it definitely wasn't hitting nearly the same way that say the original did. So, and I think that was going to be inevitability anyway. I don't think you can have a concept that many times before it starts to get a little bit stale. So.
Oh, for sure.
But speaking of things not getting stale, so in a couple of days on the SideQuest, you'll be looking forward to a video that Chris and I did where I go over a couple of rounds of the new indie game Blueprints, which is Blueprints, as in Prince, the artist Prince. It's a clever play on words, okay? Just let them have it. I said it in the video then, I will say it now. This currently is my game of the year. I will probably come back to fully review it when I'm done it and say it's my game of the year so far. And I will honestly say, without even thinking about it, this is a more addictive game than Balatro for me right now. But that's because this game has a end point, whereas Balatro you can keep coming back to. This is a point where I want to beat this game, and I will not stop until I beat this game. So it's kind of the vibe that I get to it. So I did show Chris a couple of rounds of it. Same thing on Friday when the Psychos comes out. You guys can check it out too if you're curious about this game. Essentially, I'm trying to think what, Chris, do you know what the best way to explain this is? It feels like it's a Myst game with roguelite elements to it.
Yes, so it's definitely got roguelite in the sense that it's kind of randomized and every run is going to be different. And for the most part, well, roguelite, you usually have it where there'll be the odd item you can carry forward, or after a while, you'll maybe get like a small permanent upgrade. But for the most part, you always have to start from scratch and just take what you learned and reapply it kind of idea. But it's a roguelite puzzler in the sense that you're putting down, grids of rooms and have to put down the correct puzzle pieces, like, calling each room being like its own puzzle piece to create a path to get to the end. But there's different currencies that you'll find in rooms, keys, puzzles themselves within to get more stuff. And it's fantastic. It's like a roguelite missed room simulator. Like, I don't even know what to actually call it, but it's very unique and very, very cool.
Yeah, because like the big thing about it, like, and it's a game that there is a single objective to start with, and then as you get further into the game, you start realizing, oh no, this isn't it. This isn't like Balatro where it's just get to an endpoint, then you get the endless mode. This is a game where like you can see, if you're watching on video right now, like you can see in the map, there's like an antechamber way at the top left-hand corner when they were showing the screen there. That's not the end. You can get in there. That's not the end. That's just part of it. So there's a lot more to it. There's a lot of puzzles, a lot of old school PC puzzles where there's a lot of, you got to find certain sheets in certain rooms. You got to put the pieces together. You got to figure out what it means, and you got to find the spot that it goes to, and you got to figure out like, but this switch does this. Like, there's a whole lot to it, to the point that, there's a couple of times where I had to go, Google, you're helping me. I'm not figuring this out. I'm too stupid. But the core mechanics is that every time you open a doorway, assuming that there is a path to go on, because it's on a 5x9 grid going vertically. So you only have 5 rows, so you can only go left or right as far as 5 squares, and you can go as high as 9. If there's an open doorway, it'll give you a chance to create one of 3 rooms, and it's completely randomized. Usually one of them will cost a gem, which is a special currency you'll collect during the course of the run. And some of them can have special properties, like some of them can give you keys, some of them can give you extra steps because you only have a finite number of steps in the entire run before you have to restart that day. So like you start at 50 as a default. So every time you walk into a room, that's a step. So if you walk into a room and then back up and go to the room you were just in, that's 2 steps. So you got to be careful when you're backtracking too, because it will cost you your currency to be able to continue in the run. Sometimes there are rooms that have special puzzles to them, and sometimes there are rooms that have really special properties that could, without spoiling what they do, could actually be things that affect the puzzles in the later game. So there are a lot of things to it that as you go forward, you just start slowly learning. Like I believe I'm on the 38th day. So I've done 38 runs. And I've unlocked a few things that are permanently added to my future runs. I started figuring out, okay, well, this room synergizes with this room really well. This room, if I come across this, I'll want to avoid doing that. If I come across this, I'll want to keep this in mind. Like, there's a strategy of placing rooms. Like, for example, there's a room that we didn't come across, Chris, in our runs called the coat check. That room allows you to take a single item, and I'm not talking like a gem or a key. I'm talking like a sledgehammer or a shovel or a special key. And if you go to the code check, you can leave it there, and that will carry on to your next run, or the next time that you summon a code check room. It'll be there for you to take that item again if you want to save it. So whenever I get a code check, if I can bear a dead end, I will put it down, because if there happens to be something that I really, really need, or I really, really want for my next run, and I know I'm not going to be able to finish this one, I'll go back, make sure I put that item there so the next time that I generate that room, I can do that. So there's a lot of strategy to what you do, and sometimes you just have to play with what it gives you, but sometimes you're able to kind of like, okay, I've got 2 more door openings. I can take, either a dead end or a room that just goes to a wall that doesn't do anything for me because I really want that, whatever that room offers me. So there's always a bit of, there's roguelite, and there's like the Balatro elements of like, well, yeah, like I can take this Joker, but like if I hold out just a little bit longer, maybe I'll find something that synergizes with this. So sometimes I'll get a room set up that I'll go and I'll unlock a doorway and I'll be like, oh, I really like that room. It's really good for this right now. But that dead ends me, and I know that if I leave a square open for this spot, like there are some rooms that open based on where you're on the map you are too. There's some locations that are dependent on where you are on the map. So like I might see a room that I really, really like, but I might go, but I really want to go forward one more square because if I try one more door there, I might get that room that I want. So there's a give and take. Like, so you have to be really careful on what you do. And I think that's what I like the most about it is that every time I play, I start with a plan and then realize very quickly, oh no, everything's completely changed. I gotta really reassess how I'm building the rest of this room. And then there's some times where I build 9 rooms and I'm completely dead-ended and the game's over and I have to start over already. And I'm like, cool, that was a good use of my time. Let's start again. But it's one of those games where, the sense of the one more game, we have an award called the All-Nighter, which is essentially for that. It's like one more round. That's probably going to be winning that award now. Unless there's another roguelite, because originally Keep Driving was starting to lean into that direction, but Keep Driving I haven't played in a long time because I just haven't had the urge. This game right now is I can't stop playing you. I just can't stop playing you. There's nothing stopping me. I have to keep going. I can't help it. I have to keep going, and it just endlessly happens. So it's one of those games that if you're into puzzle games, this is a must play. If you're into roguelites or things that have some sort of random mechanics to it, this is a must play. And if you're the kind of person that just wants to get kind of sucked into something for a couple hours, oh yeah, this will do that. This will definitely do that. And it's also on PlayStation Extra and Game Pass right now, so if you got the subscriptions, it's free. Because I think it's actually $35 on Steam, which is not cheap for an indie game. Given that I've put 20 hours into it almost already, it's well worth that. But,
Yeah, it's 35 Canadian.
Yeah, so that's got to be what, $30 US probably? Maybe a little bit less than that. But yeah.
Probably a bit less. Probably $24.99 or something like that.
More than worth taking a look at. I'm sure there's a demo because there's a big just people were just gleaming about the demo originally, so maybe on Steam it is somewhere. I just haven't thought to look. But if you have Game Pass or PlayStation Extra, or you're looking into getting Game Pass anyway, because there are some good games starting to pop up on that service right now, that's one of them to definitely take a look at, because that is more than worth your time, especially if puzzles are your jam. Because I'm not, and I'm still super into that. So yeah, it's good. I can't say enough good things about it. I'm more than enjoying it beyond what I ever would have thought to. Because when I saw it, I saw, okay, a lot of people are talking about it's a Game of the Year candidate. I'm like, okay, it's an indie game that doesn't get tossed around very often. I should take a look at this. And at first, I'm like, yeah, this is kind of nice. This is cute. I can get into this. And then about 3 or 4 runs in, I went, oh, I get it. Oh, I get it now. I know why people are saying that. This makes so much sense. This game is just so addicting. It's just insanely addicting. So yeah, that's been the core of my time, but I have finally finished South of Midnight, and I'm so torn with this game. I want to high praises to the moon, but I can't, because for everything I love about this game, the music, this is probably going to win my Earworm Award for Best Music. This is an incredible soundtrack. I cannot talk enough. I'm Spotifying a lot of these songs right now, because it's got there's the chill vibes, these darker tone, guitar-esque, bluesy vibes. But then there's a boss song that, because it's very much in the Louisiana Bayou sort of vibe to it, they have a lot of country themes, and they have a song where they've clearly designed it to sound like if Dolly Parton was singing a song, and it's very, very much like that, and it sounds phenomenal. There is just some incredible tracks in this, so I love that. Visual style might also win awards too. This is one of the most visually stunning games I've seen in a while, because of its stop motion, sort of Coraline Nightmare Before Christmas vibe that it has. Mm-hmm. It's very much that, does that phenomenally well. Story at times, it's really dark, really heavy, and the side stories they tell is fantastic. The voice acting's really, really good. I was trying to think of surely there's one other thing I can glean. The voice acting I fucking love in this game too. There are 2 things that keep this from being a 10. I have it as a 9 right now. I might change my mind and move it to an 8 at some point. Depends on how much I want to weigh these. The combat system, as I said at the beginning, is super mid. and it retains that even with the abilities that I get. And the final boss, without saying what it is, was such a boring boss battle. I cannot say enough how disappointed I was that they basically just made the boss fight just a regular fight that just involves some platforming, but there's nothing special about the boss. I'm so mad that that's what the final boss was. It was a waste of time. The story is also very meh at the end. It just kind of ends. Like there is a firm like finish to it, but it's not a very satisfying finish. So like the entire journey leading up, because the story was carrying it too. Like obviously, like the visuals are great, music's great, like all that was doing it. The platforming is fantastic. I really did enjoy like moving around the maps and finding like the little secrets here and there that gives you like extra currency for the upgrades and stuff. But like the combat wasn't helping and the story was really what was keeping me going. And at the end of the game, like I obviously finished it with no need to stop, but the ending was so lackluster that I'm like, that's really fucking disappointing. I want to talk about like, man, story was fantastic beginning to end, loved every bit of it. And like the last 10%, just it trips. It trips over the line so fucking hard that you can see the skid mark of it face planting. It's so bad. Like, it's so disappointing. And it's one of those things where it's like, you wonder if it got maybe rushed out the door. Like maybe they were getting to a point where they had to push it. And because it feels like there's a boss battle that needed to finish the game and they just didn't put it in there. It really feels like there's a boss fight missing. And I'm wondering if that's the case, if it was just pushed out because it needed to hit a timeline and they just didn't have enough time to finish what they wanted to. If that's the case, maybe I hope that like they have DLC that maybe adds on to it. That's another thing that I'm hoping they do as well, is that they add some sort of DLC to this later that might maybe flesh it out a little bit more. But yeah, like I really felt like I needed like another 2 hours. Like it's still a good 10 to 15 hours, but I feel like it just needed 2 more to really finish off what was there. And at the end of the day, the combat is just so like passing grade that it really, like the sum of its parts are good, but the parts that you're playing a lot of, like thankfully the combat isn't nearly as much of the game as it could be. They could have done way more. Like here's my biggest complaint. You know how Uncharted, the original Uncharted's were basically shooting galleries from levels from spot to spot, and they weren't really all that interesting. Like they weren't set pieces most of the time.
No, they were boring.
That's a lot of South of Midnight. They're not that special. So
that makes sense.
Like there's boss battles that are really cool. Like there's a couple of there's 3 I can think of that are actually pretty good. And that's great. The last one sucks, and there's one that probably should have been included. So for the ones that are there, they're great. Like they actually make the fights a little more interesting because there's something else going on. Because most of the time, like when you're fighting just these small like domed areas that are just basically like a bunch of like basic enemies, it's just use your powers, do this, take care of that monster, and you're done. It's nothing special. There's no real like that's the other thing too. The battles don't use the map. Like you don't have to like go over gaps during the fights. You don't have to use like certain other powers that you do to like move stuff around or like hook from place to place. It's just you're in a dome, you can't go anywhere. It's just a flat piece of land, fight. And they just do that several times to the point that anytime I saw one of them, I went, ugh, not another. Like just let me get to the meat and potatoes already. So like for every one really good thing, the battle system just keeps coming back to ruin it. So like I'm giving it a 9 currently, but I might downgrade it just because when I have more time to think about it, I might look at it again and go, but the battle system is such a deterrent for it that thank God like the 80 to 90% of the game in terms of its story and everything else really keeps you interested. But like again, like this is, I don't know, I think we talked about it before. I think the developer had done a couple of games. Let me just quickly double check on this, because I think we talked about it before when we were talking about it. But like they aren't like developers that have been doing this for a long time. Because it's Compulsion Games. Just pulling up their Wikipedia here. Yeah, they'd only done Contrast and Be Happy Few. So this is like their first like really big game. So I can not dock a bunch of points off. Like this is like, Naughty Dog making a game and it was this passe on the combat and this kind of like shitty at the end. I'd probably dock some more points off of them, but because this is a company that hasn't done nearly as many major games, I can give them a little bit of leeway on this. And like I said too, they did such a great job on other facets of it that, again, I'm willing to give a free pass to some of it. But I will say, like, this is a game more than worth your time on Game Pass. That is no question. But to pay full price for this right now, I can't suggest that unless you're like super into this aesthetic and you have to. But like, I think this is a game that if you're gonna buy it, especially if they release it later on PlayStation, this is a half off game. In my opinion, this is a half off. This is a $30, $40 game.
Actually, just quickly hopping in about that price. Regular price, it's only a $49.99 game.
Like Canadian?
Canadian. Yeah,
Okay,
sorry,
so
that's Canadian.
Okay, so 25% off game then. I
So
didn't
it's
even
already
look at the price to see that it was see that it wasn't an $80 game. So you know what? As a $50 game Canadian, this is actually pretty good. I'd say that's a fair deal. I'd say full price isn't terrible. I would still say wait for like a small sale, but like it's not completely wasting your dollar for $50.
Yeah.
But if you have game, like at this point, if you're gonna play it on Xbox anyway or PC, get it on Game Pass. Like it's not even a question, really.
Yeah, the amount of time it'll take you to complete it and stuff, you can do that in a month, which is already basically playing the game for 50% off if you go and pay for 1 month of Game Pass Ultimate. And even then, if you're on PC, in Canadian, Game Pass is like $15 a month. You can get it real cheap for that 1 month and you don't have to pay the $50.
Yeah. So it's definitely more than worth your time. I mean, Chris, I would fully suggest that you give that a crack, next time you're looking for something on Game Pass to do. It really is a game that isn't going to take too much time. It does, I think, the right amount of time had it had a proper ending. If it had had a proper ending, I think the time is perfect because I think I was around like 11, 12 hours. There's not a lot completionist-wise. Like, I don't even know what all the trophies are. I didn't look. But, like, there's not, like, collectibles or anything. It's really just around the maps. Like, if you go off the beaten path a tiny bit, you'll find, like, the currency that allows for your upgrades. I never got enough to get every single upgrade, although some of the upgrades I kind of strayed away from because I didn't really need it that much. I kind of just swayed to other things in general. But like the maps aren't too big. They don't waste a lot of space. You're not like going to, a 5-minute journey to get to a simple thing. Like it's just there's usually here's where the game will tell you where it wants you to go. And you can see in the corner, there's another path somewhere. You take that path, you'll find something in about half a minute, and you go back and you're done. Like it's not a time waster. It's not like a massive open world or anything. It's very linear and it does a good job with the room that it gives you. So I think it does all that well. Like I said, the combat just could have been way better. It really doesn't feel all that smooth. It didn't feel like I was frustrated a lot of times fighting it because the camera's a struggle to deal with sometimes. And I feel like the powers, they don't work the way that that you intend them to sometimes because of the way the distance is, because some of them are very distance based. So sometimes you really want to use a pull mechanic and it's like, no, the guy's right next to you. Don't bother with it. I'm like, but there's a reason I still want to pull him because it ties him up. But the game's like, nope, he's too close. I'm like, So there's things that I'm frustrated with, but like, it's still a really, really good experience. I enjoyed a lot about it. It left me wanting a little bit more. So, like I said, 9 for now. Probably will downgrade it if you really put the gun to my head, but like it's still more than worth your time. I think it's just got a few faults that are for some people might be a little bit harder to ignore, but were good enough for me to deal with because of some of the other really good things I liked about it.
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as you said it was the same developer as Contrast, I was like, I see it. Very different setting and art style, but I can see the Contrast game, like the history there with them having that. I remember playing that game. Whew. I played that game in a single setting because I was doing a flight at 6 a.m. and needed to pull an all-nighter. I can't sleep on plane, so if it's taken off at 6, I just got to stay up because I'm not falling asleep early. I'm going to go to bed at 2 and wake up at 3. So yeah, I remember playing that all night. So that makes me even more excited for this game because I love that the developer of that game. So exciting stuff.
Like, and I mean, giving it a 9 or even an 8 if that ends up being my final rating, that's more than I thought. Like, I genuinely thought this was going to be a 5 or a 6 for me because it didn't look very inspiring. Like, it just looked like cool art style, and that's all it's got. And as soon as I played it, because originally too, and I think I said this last week, but I thought the main character seemed like a bit bitchy, like the character of Forspoken was. It's not at all. It's just that one scene that they play. and it's really not that afterwards. So like I really do like Hazel a lot. I really like that catfish character that if you're watching the video, you saw a little bit of him there. I generally like most of the characters they bring in there. There's really not like a weak link in that spot. So I think they did a fantastic job with the concept they were trying to do. It's really just the gameplay or the combat, I should say, that just kind of pulls it down a bit. And I guess like the lack of an ending that I was really happy with, but like considering the other 90% was really enjoyable. Like it's not a great fault to have, but you know it could be worse. At least I enjoyed pretty much the entire time that I played it. So
Yeah, absolutely. It does look good. I guess the one thing I would agree with though is when you were saying you didn't kind of know what you're getting going into it, and your hype was 5. Same with mine. I think that Xbox did not, or Microsoft did not do a great job of how they advertised it. They just kept showing just these couple cutscenes, and it just made it look like, okay, so you're in a swamp, and it looks like a movie, but like you'd never really got a feel for the game itself. Because just even watching the gameplay you were showing just now in the podcast here, that was a lot more exciting to see than what Xbox had shown before. So I think it was just poor marketing decisions, or maybe just poor marketing in general. I feel like it was hardly advertised outside of like a June showcase and maybe one other direct.
I mean, it was probably a case too that they went like, this isn't like our flagship one. Like this isn't going to be one of our big money makers. Like this is just more of like our AA level like game that's coming out here. So they didn't put nearly as much attention on it, say like a Doom, right? So, but I mean, given the hype that it had, and given my own personal interest in it, this was well past my expectations. I love this game a lot. I was actually showing specifically one boss battle to Lisa because she's a big Nightmare Before Christmas fan. Because there's a certain boss where it jives with that visual style. And she was like, this is one of the coolest looking things I've ever seen. And I'm like, it's cool because you're not a gamer. You're gonna struggle with this fight, so that's why I'm showing it to you, because I know you would get frustrated playing this and you would get really panicky. She's the kind of person that like when she plays Donkey Kong Country, she hates the barrel levels because of the timing issues. So I'm like, there's a reason why I'm showing you this fight, because I know how you play. The timing that you need in this one, you be mad. Yeah, but there's so much about it. I can't talk enough about its art style. It's so fucking beautiful.
Yeah, it does look good. That's what I think my most excited thing for it. As soon as you talked about it last week, I installed it like I did with Blueprints this week. So yeah, I'm gonna hop in there now that Avowed's done.
I'm such a good influence. I was about to say bad. I'm like, that's not true. I only give you good influences.
These are good. You don't only give me good influences, but these ones have been good. Your game recommendations, they're good. Other influences.
Oh, that kind of good. Okay. I was like, what bad influence games have I given you? Oh god. So you were actually talking about Skyrim and Avowed earlier. So I wanted to briefly go over. Obviously, there's some screenshots leaking of an Oblivion remake, which I know a lot of people have been clamoring for over the years. They've been hoping that this is something that would get done. I want to get your thoughts on it because you're much bigger into Skyrim, I think, than I was. Like I casually played it. Like I finished it, but like I wasn't like super into it by the time I'm done. Like the idea of an Oblivion remake doesn't do anything for me. I don't know if you have a different opinion on that.
So for me, unfortunately, my love of the genre came out later. In fact, the first time I owned Oblivion. I played 10 minutes of it. I heard like Patrick Stewart's voice because I'm pretty sure he was the voice in that one at the beginning. So it's like I got out of the prison and I got into the open world and I was like, cool. And then I shut off my PS3 and just never touched it again. Then Skyrim came out. It's when I just built my PC in 2013. And I got Skyrim. I didn't buy it. I got it through the very legal means back then where I was doing a lot more like I was testing out building a PC and going into that whole realm. I was just testing things. I tried Skyrim for a bit that way without committing to buying it. Got to the open world after the initial part. I was like, cool, I'm in the open world. Done. And I think my issue was I didn't like the idea of it being first person. And when you put those games in third person, those games don't look great to me. They look like these were designed for first person, and the animations of the third person does look kind of shitty because it's not exactly what it's meant to do. And for me, I was like, I'm not doing a first person melee game or magic. Like that sucks. Like if I'm doing first person, it better be a gun or a bow and arrow only because it's the only thing I can consider, right? But I later played Skyrim, fell in love with it. It was when they had the like legendary edition or whatever, the slightly updated version. Then I've now played Avowed and other things like that. So now I love the genre. But again, I've never actually really played Oblivion. I own it on Steam. I have 3, 4, 5 on Steam. I even have Elder Scrolls 1 and 2, but they're obviously very different type of games from the 90s. But I still never played it. Knowing that this is coming, if it's coming to Game Pass, which I assume it would, I'm very excited because it's a game in that genre I haven't played yet. And the reason I haven't really gone back is if you've really loved the upgraded version of Skyrim first, I assumed going back to the original with its graphics and everything, even if I turn it up to max, it's still going to look like really dated. And I don't know if I would be able to kind of go that far back. So I'm excited, but I feel like it's almost like a unique case where it's like I'm one of the few people that haven't played it but love that genre, because most people who do love that genre have played it. I'm assuming they're excited for everybody who did play that back in the day and loved it.
I assume that those that were like super into it when it first came out are probably really excited. I'm wondering, like, I don't know if they're because they haven't obviously like fully confirmed it to everybody. I'm wondering if they've like rehashed anything so that it's a little bit smoother, or that some like, because if it's just a graphical remake, this is gonna be a boring game. Because I've played like, I think when I played Oblivion, because I had it on Xbox 360, or was it? Yeah, it would have been 360, right? Fuck, memory's a weird thing. I played like maybe 5-6 hours. I also played Morrowind for about the same amount of time. Like, comparing those to Skyrim, like, they're way slower. And, you know, maybe I'd take a peek at it now. I'm not sure that I would still stick with it. Because if it's still very much the old game just with a fresh coat of paint, I don't feel like I'm going to end up playing nearly as much of that. In the same way that, like, I know you obviously played Fallout New Vegas not too long ago. I don't think I could go back and play it again. Not even just because I've played it already, just because of just how much slower those games are in comparison to what we have now. So, like, it's tough. I mean, I'll probably take a peek at it again just because it's an Elder Scrolls game. You got to play at least one Elder Scrolls game in this decade, because God only knows we're not going to get the next one probably in this decade, the rate they're going with it. I know they're probably saying, like, what was it, like 2028 or something, to which I go, okay. Yeah, that's like, still room to back it. That's still room to be like, yeah, we got to delay it. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think I'm excited.
I can see a lot of people who are really excited. I'm just not personally nearly as stoked, but I think it's largely entailing because I never really played a lot of it when it came out. I imagine like PC players that played a shit ton of it, like how a lot of us played Skyrim, or even people before that played a ton of Morrowind. Like, I got friends that swear by Morrowind. So, like, it's probably more of one of those games that's like, if you really loved that game, this is for you. I don't think this is more of an attract new players. Maybe a few here and there will, just because it's a Skyrim game again, and people just want to play something like that. But I don't know if it's gonna hit nearly as well as, say, like Skyrim did, just because of if they haven't like really updated it to modern times. I don't think it's gonna age nearly as well gameplay wise.
No, I don't think so either. I think that they've realized that they can't put out another Skyrim. They're not going to make their money back if they put the effort in there now. And this game is old enough, because at this point it's like 20 years old. It's actually been long enough that remake or remaster or whatever it technically is makes sense. And I'm sure there are some people, myself included, that basically have played Skyrim but never did get around to playing that one. I don't think this is meant to bring in new players. I feel like this is almost a, listen, we still care about Elder Scrolls. 6 isn't going to be ready for a long time. Here's something to tide you over while we still work on 6. I feel like this is just kind of like that. Like, I don't think it's going to sell like incredible or crazy amounts or anything like that. It's just for the fans to help them wait. And show like, hey, we're not just going to do another Skyrim thing. We're not going to keep releasing Skyrim. Here's a different Elder Scrolls that we also care about. And then if for any reason it takes that long for 6 to come out, I could see them doing the same thing with the third game too, with Morrowind. Just using it as a like, hey, I know we said 2028, but we're not ready. So here's Morrowind, and you can play through that one again, because now that game's like 30 years old or whatever it would be at the time. And well, not 30 years old, but 25. Yeah, I think they're just using these as ways to keep everybody like a little bit happy while they work towards 6. Plus, also keep the hype for 6, because there is a such thing as a franchise being dead for so long that they lose some of that crazy hype from the last game, because Skyrim's from like 2011. That's a big wait. Grand Theft Auto still gets to have that because people still play GTA Online. There's still a lot of people in there. So 6 is still very exciting for that reason. I don't think, like, I'm sure there are a lot of people in there playing Skyrim. There's Skyrim Grandma and everything even. But I don't think there's as many people in there still playing as hype would allow if they let it go too long. So this is kind of a smart thing business-wise, I think, just to keep the hype going.
Yeah, just to kind of keep people at bay a little bit too. That would be...
Yeah. Because gamers can be a lot. We can be a lot.
What? Are you sure? That doesn't sound
okay,
like a thing the gamers
I take it back.
like.
We're not a lot.
No, of course not. With other games that are also being kind of like rehashed right now, like, did you see the gameplay trailers for Marathon, Bungie's new game?
I saw a bit of it, yes. But I didn't watch the whole thing.
As a guy who played a shit ton of Destiny, I looked at that trailer and went, so it's Destiny with a different coat of paint. I know it's not like... It's not Destiny, like, in terms of, like, an MMO. It's an extraction shooter now. But, like, I watched the gameplay and went, that's just the Crucible PvP in Destiny. Like, this isn't changing anything to me. So, like, I don't know. Like, it's not like the combat isn't good. Like, Bungie's combat has always been pretty solid. Like, there's a reason that I was able to play thousands of hours of Destiny. Just, you know, with the raids and just multiplayer combat and just the regular like grinding sessions. Like, the gameplay was smooth, but like, I don't know what this trailer is doing to get anyone in who's been a longtime Destiny player, because I'm out of Destiny. Like, I'm done with them. They've like, both from a burnout stage and also a fuck off Bungie stage for the shit that they kind of pulled in the last like 5 years of that game's life cycle. This doesn't make me suddenly go, oh, I have to get back in. I'm going just like, it's just more of the same thing. And like, there's even stories like that people are talking about right now where this is a game that's primed for proximity chat, but Bungie's apparently not going to have a proximity chat in here. Because it's supposed to be like PvE, PvP elements where it's a bit kind of like what like DayZ was with its proximity chat, kind of like what the Division had for the Dark Zone. So like, I don't know what they're going for here, and I think it's another case too. Like, there's also, I've seen in different Reddit comments, because I'm not familiar with the original Marathon game, because this is well beyond I was paying any attention to what Bungie was doing before Halo. But it was a more story-driven game, and them moving into an extraction shooter just seems like they didn't know what they wanted to do. They just want to make an extraction shooter, but they're like, do we really want to spend time with a bunch of new arts? And then they just went, well, we have an old game that we could just revive and put a slap that on it. And like, some old gamers will be like, oh shit, Marathon's back. And then most people will just be like, okay, yeah, it's Bungie. I'll take a look. I just don't know like how this is enticing to new players unless you're not jaded by this stuff. If you're not jaded by Bungie or extraction shooters in general, maybe this gets your attention. So like, if you're 14, sure. But like, if you're in your 30s and you've played either a bunch of Destiny or you've played a bunch of other shooters over time, like, what does this game do? Like, what's it doing that's different? It's a visual style, kind of, but a visual style shouldn't be selling you on a multiplayer shooter.
No, and to me,
like, there's a reason that games like, say, Lethal Company or Helldivers got our attention. There was something unique about it.
Yes. Very unique, yeah. Like, when I was seeing some of the clips of this, I didn't realize it was for Marathon at first. Like, not right now. I mean, when I saw it before, when it was first announced. And it was a scene where, like, yeah, it goes out of third person to go to first person. A guy's got a shield he's being shot at. He goes down a hallway, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but this just looks like Apex Legends with, like, a slightly different, like, set of objectives. Like, I don't know why. It still just looks like a live service shooter. Like, and like, they've all got this similar vibe. It looks like a free-to-play game, but it's not free-to-play either. Yeah, like, yeah, exactly. Like, it feels like that free-to-play hero shooter. And I know it's not a hero shooter, but it still just had that like look to me, and it doesn't look that much different. And people be like, "Oh, it doesn't look like Overwatch." No, it looks like Apex Legends. Like,
I was gonna say, it does look a lot. Has a Concord vibe to it a little bit,
and it does have a little bit of a Concord vibe too, which is not great timing for that.
So Sony, make sure you don't spend $500 million on this one, okay?
Yeah. I don't know. This just kind of seems like another Sony live service attempt. And like, again, the reason Destiny did so well is it wasn't just a go in and shoot everybody. Like, obviously shooting was a huge part of it, but it was like missions that you could do solo, and it was like a huge lore story. Like, it felt like you were an actual person out in space and you had to go to these different places, do different things. And yes, there was raids, but kind of more like an MMO, right? And that was unique for shooters. Hence why Destiny became the craziest thing ever when it came out. Whereas this seems like Bungie's taking its excellent shooting mechanics and just making a live service game like everybody else is doing. Like, is it really that different when it zooms out to third person? I almost feel like it's the exact same code that Marvel Rivals is using, just with a different coat of paint. Like, I don't see what makes it that much different compared to the other live service games, where I'd actually be super excited for that one when I'm not super excited about the other ones too. And already, even if people are excited for it, it's already in like the whole like live service system. Like, there's only so much space, and it's just another one getting in there where people are going to be like, okay, that's cool. Now, I could be wrong. Marvel Rivals is doing very well for some reason. I still don't get why, but people
it's
like
the license.
it.
Let's be honest. It's the license.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be just the license.
If it was just a random IP, like new IP, we probably wouldn't do anything.
Yeah, I think
like,
right.
I'm not saying the game is bad. Like, for anybody that's like a big Marvel Rivals guy, I'm not saying the game sucks. I'm just saying the reason this has staying power is because people like the license that the characters are from. If it was just original characters, I don't think people would give a shit, to be honest. Like, it would have been a 2 to 3 month flash in the pan and then be done.
Yeah, I could see that too. Yeah. If it was just called Rivals and it was just people. Yeah.
Yeah, if it was just a bunch of like anime looking characters, because that's kind of what a lot of them look like. They just look animated version of Marvel characters.
Yeah.
I don't think people would care as much because there's been so many of those games that have come out. Like,
that's the thing.
No one's talking about Fragpunk, and that's what Fragpunk is.
Didn't even know that existed. Like, that's the issue. There's just so many of these. And I think that's why when something like Blueprints comes out and it's this unique game that people are like, wow, it's fun. It's easy to understand for the most part and play. Like, you get to pick up and play to start, and then you learn as you go. And it's, affordable. It's enjoyable. Like, it's unique. It's new. It's something cool. Like, it's an interesting idea.
It feels like this is it's a Bungie game, so you're going to buy it anyway. So give us money. It feels like that's what that is, because I don't feel the life in this one. And I say that as someone who had not been more excited than he was for Destiny 1 and 2. Like, because here's the thing, too, that is really going to test Marathon very quickly. Destiny is not only good because of its mechanics, it's not only good because of the lore, it's good because the community just blossomed with those games. When you think about the fact that communities got together to communicate information, like, hey, on this day when the special shop opens up, here's what's going on. Like, for raid, like the amount of guides for raid, like people came together to really make this game what it is. Sites literally got made to help with raid grouping for that game. Not a lot of games get this. There's not people necessarily lining up for all these other like hero shooters or whatever else. Sites literally were made specifically for raid groups for Destiny that have stuck to the end to today and are being used for other games now because it was a good system. But it was originally built for Destiny. Like, the 100.io is the one that comes to mind, where it's a place where it lumps you into a group of 100 people, and that plays a similar game. So that way you can find a group of players that you can consistently find matches with, instead of having to just join a random group and always be introduced to a new group of people every time. Now you can have a group that, like, you'll start seeing the same people over again if you stick around. And it worked, and it kept sticking around, and it started upgrading to Division when it came out, and it kept expanding to other games. I haven't looked at it in a while, but it's still around. Like, I've checked. So there was a community portion to that game that worked. I don't know what Marathon's going to do to keep a community involvement. It's just looking to me like an extraction shooter that I guess they're expecting people to stick with. And my honest thing to this every single time is, unless you bring something new to the table, good luck pulling people away for longer than 2 months to your game. Because they'll pull away from whatever they've been playing for a year plus now, just to check your game out, especially streamers, because they'll do it because of the views. But as soon as the views start to die, as soon as the interest starts to die, as soon as the player count starts to drop, they're all going to leave because then go back to the thing that they've been enjoying. That's why every time there's a Fortnite clone, every time there's a WoW clone, every time there's a Overwatch clone or whatever else, like League of Legends, anytime that there's a clone of something, it's fine for a little while. Sometimes it gets really popular for a little bit, and then it drops. Sometimes it's like, it's moderate, like it gets some attention. Like I'm thinking of like New World with the Amazon MMO. Like it got really popular for a second, gone. So like, I think Marathon's gonna fail? No, but I don't see a world, unless it completely shocks me, that this has like Destiny staying power. I'd have to see, like, let me Steam charts Destiny 2 right now, just out of curiosity. I'm very curious to see what it's doing currently. So right now it's hovering around 30,000. All time was 300,000. And this is just on Steam. I will even be shocked if Marathon beats Destiny 2's all-time peak. I would be shocked at that alone. If it's still at 30,000 after 2 months, I'm honestly going to be surprised. I don't see a world of this sticks the way that I think Bungie's hoping it will. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
I may be wrong. This could just be me being super pessimistic, because honestly, I will say my bias to Bungie right now is very negative. They've done a lot of pissing away goodwill in the last 5 years that I really don't have any confidence in whatever they're doing right now. But like, just even trying to take some of the bias out of the equation, I don't know what this game's going to bring that's going to make it a long-term stay. Because like, let me just pull up Helldivers just out of curiosity, see how it's doing right now. Because it's been hanging around. It's doing a little bit more than Destiny 2 is. And this is just an extraction shooter. So like, yeah, I would be really curious to see what Marathon's staying power is after 2 months compared to what Helldivers is doing at that time, at the same time. I'd love to start comparing those two. Because I don't know.
Yeah.
I could be way off. Like the Bungie bump might be that strong, but I don't know, man. I don't see life in this game. Like, I think that's the biggest thing, and I don't know how you might feel just from watching the trailers. I don't see the spark. I don't see I don't see oxygen in this.
I don't either, and I can tell you exactly why. So Bungie, most known for probably two things: Halo and Destiny, right? Like, there's probably the main two. If they've done other things, I don't, besides Marathon now, like the old one, but I didn't know about that until recent. But if you take Halo was popular for being a great story and a first-person shooter, but also a team deathmatch, which was just a fun thing that people like to then do with their friends. And the rage back then was 4v4, whatever, whether they're LAN or online, whatever. But it was a lot of fun, and they kind of started that being huge. Like, don't get me wrong, probably the Nintendo 64 or something technically started the whole 4-player whatever. But it was popular for that reason, right? And even that got stale. Destiny wasn't just a continuation of that. I genuinely don't consider Destiny just a normal shooter or a hero shooter or anything like that. It is a live service game, but it is a live service game to me in the same sense that World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy XIV are live service games. It's an MMO first-person shooter, and that's why such a community was built around it. You had, I don't know if they're called guilds or whatever it's called, like when you got a group of people that you raid with and everything. That's World of Warcraft. That is Final Fantasy XIV, and that is Destiny. And it was just taking the concept of an MMO, tons of lore, different loot, and it drops. There's a community. It's live happening. Thursdays at midnight, here's a raid that goes live. It's only live for so long, blah, blah, blah. It makes sense why that blew up, because there was no MMOs that would fit with like the first person shooter type of person, right? It's two different type of gamers sometimes, and the first person shooters, the Call of Duty players, that kind of stuff, they're not playing Final Fantasy 14. They're
Well,
not
it's
really
why
playing
Destiny
WoW.
stuck for me, because I've tried playing WoW, I've tried playing like Guild Wars 2, Final Fantasy 14. They're fine, but they don't stick. This one stuck because it's genuinely fun to play.
Yeah. It's an MMO that's more fast paced, different setting, sci-fi and guns, and boom. You like they changed what they changed, but it works, and it works more like an MMO. This is like now Bungie's like, okay, we've done, the Nintendo 64 to Xbox, upgrade of deathmatch with a great story. They did Goldeneye, but with Master Chief, right? It's not the same, but let's just go with that. Then they're like, all right, let's take now like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy 14, but make it a first person shooter and go with that. And it's great. But now it seems like they're like, hey, now let's copy, the other
I was just
let's
gonna
do
say,
Rainbow
it's
Six
like they're
Siege
chasing
with
the dollar now
Overwatch.
rather than making something unique.
Yeah, this isn't them creating something unique. This is them being like, hey, what if we took um Rainbow Six Siege and mixed it with Apex Legends? Like that's not what? Like theirs already exist, and it's like they succeeded because they did it. They were new, but the more you add, the less exciting that's going to be. Like it's like you can't drop another 30 MMOs that are the same on top of Final Fantasy 14 and WoW and expect them to all succeed, right?
It's the worry
So
that
yeah,
like Bungie is getting away from being what they used to be, which was a trendsetter.
yes. They were the ones setting the trend, and now this is definitely them, and maybe it even is the people at Sony, who knows, but chasing now a trend where that they are not the ones starting, and that's not good for them. And just because they're Bungie isn't good enough to all of a sudden take on these other shooters, right? Like, who are the characters' names? I have no idea. What's the story?
I don't
What's
even
the
think
lore?
I think
I don't know.
they're just creative characters. I don't even know if they're like named people.
Yeah, well, that's not the Bungie way, because Master Chief and stuff, all those characters that they created were incredible. People know it for the characters. In Destiny, people know the characters, the lore, the story. A friend of the
Dude,
show,
like
Rajiv, was.
I don't know if you saw the stories, like when Lance Reddick passed, like the amount of things that people did in
Mhm.
honor of his character.
I never played Destiny for the most part. I played with you and our friend Rajiv for a little bit, but I couldn't get into it because it's like I'm way too behind in this, and I need to literally sit with it for like
Also, I
30
don't
hours.
with the amount of games that you try to finish with your backlog, you wouldn't have time because you couldn't devote it all
No.
to that.
This is the same reason I'm not currently subscribed to Final Fantasy 14. I would love to. I love that MMO, but I
I don't
can't
even think I could
devote
play
that
Destiny,
time.
like, even if I'd never played it before. I don't think I could do it now. Like it was great back then
Yeah.
because I had the time and I wasn't playing nearly as much stuff. Now that I'm so heavy into the indie market, I don't have the time anymore for that.
No, no, there's no way. It's too much of a time sink.
Like the
Um,
amount of Helldivers we all played, like that's an anomaly.
that is, but it's because it can be in short bursts, right?
Yeah.
Like Helldivers is like, hey, let's play for 1 hour. You haven't missed anything. Like it has its concept. It's fun in short bursts. It's still unique. It's still like great, but it's not like there's this heavy lore story. It's like, hey, there's this raid that drops on this day, and if you don't get it, you're not going to know what's going on. Of course, you know what's going on. You drop down to shoot bugs, and if you die, a new person drops down, and you play as them instead. Like it's just simple, right? But yeah, like I feel like all the strengths that Bungie has, which is great characters and lore and world building that they've had in other stuff, they don't have it here. Creating a new genre, basically, or at least improving on one, or kind of like pushing it to like what it can be now. They're not doing that. Now all of a sudden they're taking out all of their strengths and chasing after somebody else's kind of game. And I look at that and I'm like, cool, Bungie didn't want to make a game. They're like, Apex Legends, Rainbow Six Siege, whatever. We'll just make one of those, create their own character, but we have this cool aesthetic and a cool name from a 90s game that we haven't used in a while. That will be enough to sell it. And it's like just the name Marathon and it being Bungie is nowhere near enough to sell it. They would have had a lot better of chance to create a new game that was basically like Destiny, but like starting over, new characters, new world, maybe even maybe more fantasy setting, or spaceships, but in an old ancient world. I don't know. They could have just taken the same idea and just made a new game that wasn't Destiny instead of
I
continuing
mean,
with Destiny
not
3.
gonna lie, if we're talking like space with a bit of a different vibe to it, I mean, Naughty Dog looks like they've got that cornered now.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I have no interest in Marathon. If it's fun to play with friends and it's like not annoying, because some of these games, it's like, oh, people online are kind of just, they're really good at the game. And if you enter it, you get headshot 2 seconds in and it sucks. Not going to bother if there's any PvP.
This would definitely be a game at this point where I'd have to see really good reviews across the board to even be remotely interested. And that is part of my anti Bungie bias right now. But like even if I even take the bias of the equation, I'm still not interested in this game until it reviews decently, and I'd have to have people to play with too. I can't just go into this solo either.
No. And if this was something where it's like, okay, you can do an extraction shooter, it's co-op, and it's just bots that you're fighting to do the extraction, sure, I'd play that with friends. I don't think I'd spend a lot of money on it. I'd prefer that to be more free to play or cheap. But I can see that because it's a co-op, non-PvP kind of bullshit that I hate.
Yeah.
As soon as it's going to be all the other stuff that we know it's actually going to be, I'm out. Like I just don't care. If I cared, I'd be playing Overwatch or Apex or more Rainbow Six or I don't know, just the million other.
And we're not streamers. We're not chasing views either. So like just from a gamer perspective, this isn't doing anything.
No, this is doing nothing. So yeah.
Just gonna rapid fire a couple of quick ones before we take off here. Breath of the Wild will not be getting DLC included with the Switch 2 edition. Another thing Nintendo's doing where it's like, guys, come on.
That makes no sense. That makes no sense. Include it.
This is they're really trying to piss away whatever goodwill they have. I feel like they're trying to test just how deep the sycophants of Nintendo fan bases are.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's kind of bullshit. So you have to pay $79.99 Canadian for the game and then the $10 upgrade. So you're paying $90 for just a patch and a 2017 game. That is wild to me.
And you're not even getting the extra content. That's so bad.
And you're not getting that, like, if it's a Switch 2 edition, the only way you can make it make sense is you throw the DLC in for free. So if anyone's like, why is it still $79.99? It's like, well, you get the upgrade and here's the DLC. So it kind of makes sense-ish.
Yeah, but until that happens, it's like, nope, this is just a really bad deal.
Yeah. Ugh. And the fact that the demo basically for the system is I think it's been almost confirmed that it's going to be $10 US for that. That should be a packing
I would be shocked
game.
if it stays that way, but also Nintendo can also be pretty stubborn. So it honestly, if you ask me right now, I think it's a coin flip on whether or not it sticks.
They got to make that free to play. Like you get that.
Me saying it's 50-50 odds is not good. That's bad.
No, that's bad. Like Astrobot
like it should have already been reversed at this point. It's like that. Yeah. There already should have been an announcement saying, "Hey, we've actually decided that we're going to make it free because it makes more sense."
Yeah, like Wii Sports. What the hell?
Speaking of things that make sense, Ubisoft still trying to fight the lawsuit against the crew for the shutting down the servers. Obviously, it makes sense that you should own your video games. Ubisoft seems to think, no, you don't.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever buy an online anything with Ubisoft. I just no.
So there is an interesting rebuttal. Like I'm looking through the Reddit comments on this, and there's an interesting rebuttal to this claim that I saw that I thought was really, really good. So I'm going to read this quickly. Replying to Ubisoft's argument that the statute of limitations is up, the plaintiffs responded with their own photos of the crew's packaging, which states that the activation code for the game doesn't expire until 2099. That's an example of how Ubisoft implied that the crew would remain playable during this time and long thereafter, per the amended complaint. There is no reason to shut down the crew. There was no reason to suggest that the crew would shut down, the lawyer said, until 2023 when the game was announced to be shut down. So that statute of limitations is not up. So even taking the do you own digital games part of the equation, they literally have something in the packaging that kind of gives you the sense that this game's going to be around for a while.
Yeah. 2099? Like, what the
now, is it silly to think that the servers would have been up for that long? Yeah. But also, as we've discussed before when we've talked about this issue, it should be your responsibility as the company making these games to make sure that there's ability for private servers for the people that do own, and yes, that's the word, own the game.
Yeah. This is brutal. This is like the dark future that we're living in right now.
Man, I'm not going to say it out loud, but Luigi, That's all I'm gonna say. All I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
The last thing,
Rough.
one cool thing that we might see in the future, the patent for the infamous sanity system that the Eternal Darkness games had has now, like I said, expired. So finally, if somebody wants to either take that on and make a better version of what that game was, or just use it for their own games for in a different light, we finally can do that. It's interesting. I didn't realize that like patents like that could be done. Like I always thought like concepts like that could be kept around, but I guess obviously, stuff like that can be patented. It's kind of a shame too because that game was so ahead of its time. And I mean, I don't know if it was a Nintendo thing because it was a GameCube exclusive back then, or if obviously the company that made it shut down. But like, man, like you could have done like so much with that system in other games even too. Like it's like the what was the name of the system in the Shadow Mordor game?
The Nemesis system.
Thank you.
Nemesis
yeah. I kept thinking villain, and I'm like, that's not right.
Villain system.
No, we call that Disney. Yeah, like it's one of those systems that like I never played the game personally, but I've seen so much content on the game. I'm like, that's so fucking cool. That like I would love to see someone now that pad's expired really take that for a spin. And the indie community, oh, they could have some fun with that.
Oh yeah.
Someone in the next like 3 to 4 years is going to make some horror game that uses the system, and it's going to be unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm not playing it. I think it'll be amazing.
Yeah, neither of us are playing it. But there's gonna be a lot of talk about it. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever play Eternal Darkness at all?
No, I've seen a lot of it. Speed runs, that kind of stuff. It's never one I.
Can you imagine playing a game back in the day when that would have worked? When they have like the sanity meter where it shows like the volume on your TV going down, or like your save files being deleted.
That's mess with me, man. That would mess with me. Like that's
because it's funny because like the volume bar they use, because I've seen it, it's literally the volume that my TV would have been around that time. So like that's creepy.
They knew what they were doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
but yeah,
that's
it's
so
cool
cool.
stuff like that.
So cool.
I hope that gets done because man, like that was a system that was super ahead of its time, and obviously never really got to be using it because they never really made a second one.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that is cool though. That it's kind of like out there now. People can use it. I hope people do. I hope people like make some really cool,
like not even necessarily
like,
horror games. I think even just with the idea of like a system that like changes the way the games play, like as soon as this meter's kind of been messed with.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Like games that are really fun
like
with breaking the fourth walls. You could do some fun shit with that.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I'd play those if they're not horror. I would play those.
Somebody just makes a game where it's like the sanity meter gets worse. It starts putting more pop-ups on the HUD like it's a Ubisoft open world game.
And it just keeps getting worse and worse. Oh god.
Or
I don't want to play
one
that.
where it actually can you imagine if it actually could control certain parts of the controller and just lock controls and then like do the thing where it's like controller disconnected?
I mean, I feel like they could do that. Maybe not by actually disconnecting the controller,
like
but they
just
get to
locking
control
all inputs.
Yeah, locking all inputs on a PlayStation 5 controller. There's that light that's there. The developers get to put what light appears there, so they could just shut off the lights and make it where all the inputs don't work, even though the controller is still on.
Or they could just
pretty cool.
They could really have some fun with it if they could license it. They really want to piss people off, like in the middle of a game, like just have it's like as the meter gets lower and lower and it starts getting weirder, it just starts playing Baby Shark on loop and you can't get rid of it.
And there's a speaker on the controller too. If it was PlayStation or they went DualSense, they could mess with that. That's also the microphones there. I don't know if they can. I don't think they can unmute it themselves. But if it was unmuted, they could even probably take your voice inputs. I don't know. Wild shit. That's what they could do.
I got the best idea. I'm gonna finish with this. This is specifically tailored to you, Chris.
Oh, great.
So you'll do something, and then a trophy notification will come up, but it's a negative amount.
Oh no. You have lost a trophy? Oh, that's my nightmare. I worked so hard. Holy shit. That would actually mess with me. That would be pretty cool. I do like when games play with trophies. like the Deadpool game unlocked like literally Deadpool point, and it was like, here you go, and then it gave you a trophy. And then he was like, what? Are you a whiny bitch baby that loves trophies? And then he's like, there's another one. There you go. Second one's free. But it like actually popped. Now I've never replayed the game. I'm sure it's not as fun when it does that, but still, yeah, I did have that go reverse. That would be wild. It would not be true. They can't get rid of trophies,
Like
but it would still be wild.
It would specifically like find a trophy that like is a numbers based thing, so that you've already unlocked it because you did like 25 of something, and it says, actually, we found that one of those inputs was wrong, so we're taking the trophy away.
If they could actually figure out how to make that trophy like be given and taken away throughout playing the game, and you finally get it maybe at the end, God, that would be wild. That would be actually wild. Who knows?
But is there any small stories that you've seen that you want to talk about, or because I that was all the ones that I thought were remotely interesting?
No, that's pretty much all of them. Like, there's so many like little Switch stories that are all around that are like some.
Yeah,
are
there's
great
still a lot of like
tech-wise.
post stream thing that people are kind of talking about, but really like,
Yeah.
and a lot of it have to do with the tariffs. And like I could spend a whole 24-hour stream talking about my frustrations with shit to do with all that stuff, but like,
Yeah.
that's not what this is for. So
No, I'm
like
we
to
wanna
relate to the
come here
pricing
to
stuff.
escape.
We made our piece on it already. So like most of the stuff that people
Yeah.
are still talking about is related to that, and it's like, what are we gonna say at this point, right?
Yeah, no, there's been a lot of other stories about like the tech and some of the stuff of certain games, how they're running and how they look and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of little ones, but there's none that I specifically.
it's a lot of
need
things that
to-
really won't matter until it's actually in our hands. So
That's the thing, because like even Digital Foundry's like looking at footage, running the footage through with like, don't get me wrong, they're doing shit I couldn't even possibly even try.
they're doing
But
God's
it's
work.
like they're doing God's work, but it's like, okay, so this, is Cyberpunk and it's running at 40 frames per second. It's not perfect. It's not great. It looks nice, but it's not, performance isn't great, but also the code is 7 weeks old and they have another 2 months till it launches. Also, this is just like from a hands-on experience. We didn't have all our tech there. It's like, there's so many what ifs right now. It's more just like, I want to wait until like June 5th or whatever it is, and then we'll see how games run
Yeah.
and we'll know a lot more.
Well, we'll see what the next week's like. I mean, obviously there could be more coming out as we get further or closer and closer to the launch date. But until then, that's gonna do it. So I think we've covered everything we wanted to here. So that's gonna do it for this episode, guys. Thank you so much for checking us out here. So obviously, you know the drill. If you're here on YouTube, like and subscribe. There is the link tree at the bottom of your screen there. For audio users, that is linktr.ee/PixelPlay Podcast. Link to the Discord. I'd say link to our socials, but it's linked to the Discord at this point. Also, if you're listening on any audio platform, if you have the ability to, give us a rating or, give like a like. I don't know how every system is because I basically just listen to Spotify or YouTube for anything. But obviously share with all your friends. If you got any gamers out there, pass that along to them. We always like supporting small podcasts, so do that. Every Wednesday at noon is the main show. Every Friday at noon is the side quest. Like we said at the top of the show, we did a kind of like first draft of what it looks like when you play the first like couple of rounds of Blueprints. So if you're curious about that game but not quite sure, we did a video on that where I even just kind of show Chris the ropes on it too. So when he decides to start playing it, he kind of knows what he's getting into there. So if you're looking forward to that, keep an eye on that. In a couple of days, it'll be on the YouTube channel, which is just PixelPlay Podcast on YouTube. So at some point, if you type in PixelPlay, we will start to show up. It's frustrating me that we've been doing this as long as we have, and we're still at the first entry. It sucks. One day. One day we'll get there. I really thought the serial episode would have done it, but apparently it wasn't good enough yet. Alrighty, well, that's going to do it, guys. Thank you so much. So we will see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye for now.